welcome guys to another video brought to you by your one and only literary pharaoh. We're officially in the house, guys. We officially packed everything yesterday, had some movers help moving the items, and we're in. We actually slept in our new house last night, me, my wife, and my 3 children. So I'm very happy about that. Yeah, it's a good feeling. I'm really tired because we went to bed. What was the time? It was like past almost 2 o'clock because the moving process does take a lot of time, and we had to get the kids situated first before we can even do anything with ourselves or arrange anything. We had to get the kids settled, and then the whole time we're trying to find where our clothes are and those particular items that we need. You know how it is when you move. You have things everywhere. I mean, we try to be as organized as possible, but moving is never easy. Even though we have many of the boxes that we packed items in labeled, but the way that the movers packed the items in the garage, they packed them in a way where it's so compact. They're all like in a corner. And what I would have wished they would have done, I'm grateful for the help. What I wish they would have done was kind of separated the boxes, like leave a little space between the boxes to allow my wife and I to kind of navigate through that. But the way they stack the boxes, they're like in one corner. So if you're looking for something, you literally have to pull back so many boxes to get to what you want. So that took a lot of time. But overall, man, I'm just happy that the moving process is done. Now we can start. Today is Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. Tomorrow's the last day of work before we have our 2-week winter break. And I'm going to use that winter break to decompress, rejuvenate myself, get back on some sort of a routine, because we have a gym inside the neighborhood that we're going to start to, me and my wife are going to have to utilize, because remember we terminated our membership with the gym that we were originally at because we're cutting costs. And where we live at now, that gym we go to, that gym is nowhere close to our area. So we had no choice but to terminate that. So we terminated that fitness membership. We're going to utilize, be more efficient and economically efficient, and we're going to decide to start using the gym, the facility in the neighborhood has a workout area that you can go work out in. It has weights. It's nice. It's a fitness center. It'll do. Me and my wife, we're not even big on using like machines anyway. A lot of the work we do is really HIIT workouts. We do incorporate dumbbells, but we're not big on machines and stuff like that. So we're not missing out on a lot. So that's what we're going to be doing. So I'm really excited about getting back into a routine. I'm big on discipline. I'm big on having a routine. What else? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. When you first get into your house, you're arranging stuff, you're fixing stuff. So that's exciting to me. I don't look at that as something that's burdensome. It's not stressful to me at all. When especially when you get something that you actually enjoy, it's not a burden for me to clean it. It's not a burden for me to decorate. It's not a burden for me to shift things around the house to my personal liking, because it's new. It's a new house, and my wife and I and my kids, they're very excited about that. And even yesterday, when we were going back to the in-laws house to get the remainder of our items, and we still do have some items over there, my son did not want to get out of the car, because my 3-year-old son, he thought that getting out of the car would mean that he would have to spend a night again at the in-laws. And he was just sitting in the car. He did not want to get out of his car seat. I'm like, boy, come on. He's like, no, I don't want to go. I want to stay in the car. I want to go to the new house. So of course I had to do my daddy thing. I just snatched his ass out. I snatched his ass out of that car seat, man. I'm like, come on, boy, we got to go. I can't leave you in the car. Have somebody call Child Protective Service on me for leaving my son in the car, as me and my wife are inside the house getting items. I couldn't leave my son in the car like that. So anyway, yeah, man. So we went back home. So around that time, it was like, it takes an hour. We live roughly an hour away from my mother-in-law. And probably, I would say 45, 50 minutes ish from my mother's house. So it's about a 45 minutes to an hour drive, depending if I take the toll road or if I just don't take the toll road. It's a little bit longer, so it's about a 45 to an hour window for both in-laws, my mother's house and my wife's mother and father's house. So yeah, it's been great, and I'm real tired right now. If you understand how much hours of sleep I got, you probably would be saying, why are you even up? Why are you going to work? But it's just one day. I'm strong enough to do that. There's no need to complain. I'm not telling you guys that to bestow pity upon me. I don't need that. I'm just letting you guys know that I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. So I'm functioning on like 3-4 hours of sleep. So yeah. So I'm headed to the office now. We just left the meeting, and I'm gonna get some work done in the office. And I wanted to talk about this before I end this video. I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of wisdom, and I'm just taking my personal experiences of the things that I've encountered, the things that I've read, the things that I've been through. I'm 44 years old, and I've lived a lot of life. And I feel like I've lived like 4 or 5 lives, because the way that I was as a child, even as a teenager, even as a young adolescent, even in my young adulthood, even now, I've had so many stages of development and so many stages of evolvement. And all the things that I've been through have been necessary. I don't regret anything that I've been through. And sometimes I do reminisce and reflect back, telling myself, oh, I wish I would have made a different decision here, or I wish I would have made a different decision there. But those decisions, those mistakes that I made were needed. And I don't necessarily call them mistakes. I call them the necessary ingredients on your journey to get to where you need to be. To evolve psychologically and biochemically is something that's not really, it's not something that's easy. In order to enact change, authentic change, you need to go through something that's authentic. You can't go through something haphazardly. That's why a lot of the times people learn from their quote unquote mistakes, if I could use that term. But I don't call them mistakes. I just call them necessary components of growth. Growth is painful. When you stretch something out, you're pulling the bone. Just think about it. When you take something in its normal form and you decide to stretch it, you're pulling on things. It's going to hurt. There's going to be movement. There's going to be a degree of uncomfortability. You're not going to be comfortable. And you can't look back and say, oh, I wish I would have did this better, then I would have to go through that uncomfortable situation. But you needed the uncomfortable situation to get to the point that you are at today. So it's not very smart to try to categorize things from a fiscal perspective, right? It's not always important to say, well, the decisions I made were good because I'm making money. When you make everything about money, then you've totally lost the essence of what makes life meaningful. Life is not meaningful because of money. Money is just an internal mechanism, part of a social construct that's been induced by the system that we're under, the military-industrial complex. Let's take away money out of the equation. I'm talking more about the ethereal aspect of the human soul. When I say ethereal, I'm talking about the things that are more long-lasting. When you talk about visceral, you're talking about the things that are more embedded in the now, in the temporary. So I'll give you an example of what I mean by visceral and ethereal. Visceral experience is you craving a particular food, and let's say you're craving something sweet. So you go to the store, you buy a cake, or you buy something sweet, or buy a bunch of cookies, and you devour the whole box of cookies because you were just craving cookies. That experience is visceral because it's temporary. That's not really going to give you happiness. It gives you momentary joy or momentary happiness in that particular circumstance within the time-space capsule that we live in. In that particular moment, you get the pleasure. All right, visceral is more in the pleasure box. It's more pleasurable. if you're a man or a woman and you have sexual intercourse with somebody that you consented to have sex with, that would be considered visceral because it's pleasure. Now, there's nothing wrong with seeking pleasure, but there is something wrong when you're using pleasure as a means to have happiness, because pleasure doesn't bring happiness. All pleasure does is induce addictions, because you continually are chasing that pleasure, you're continually chasing that dopamine to substitute what happiness is supposed to be. See, happiness is ethereal. Now you say, what's ethereal? Remember, visceral is temporary. Visceral are things that you just do for the now to feel good now. Ethereal takes a little bit more work. Ethereal actually co-merges and it goes in flux. It's actually, they're interdependent, they're interlocked. It's interlocked with your biochemistry and your psychological makeup. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that sometimes depriving yourself of pleasure gives you happiness. You say, but how does that make sense? If I deprive myself of pleasure, that'll make me angry. Yes, initially. Remember what I told you earlier. Growth, the initial stages of growth is painful. Whenever you're growing into something, it's not going to be easy because it's the initial stage. Just like a person who's never worked out a day in their lives. If they go to the gym, the first day that they lift weights, after they've worked out that day, believe you me, when they come back home, they will be sore. You say, but what do you mean by that? What are you trying to say? Well, that's the point that I'm making. Whenever you start something new, you're depriving your muscles of being comfortable. So you're stretching your muscles. You're using muscles that you've never used before. Your body's like, what the hell are you doing to me? Stop this, stop this. It's painful initially. That's when you get the soreness. That's the same thing in life. I've always told you guys, take the microcosm, take the micro perspectives of life, and you just extrapolate it into a grander sense. When you can understand the basic principles of life, even in the most smallest examples, even in the most, what may come across as examples that are insignificant, but nothing is insignificant. If you can understand simple concepts of life, it can help you actually understand the more complex concepts of life as well. So when you're talking about things like working out, oh, I'm sore because I haven't used this muscle in a while. Same thing in life. So when you're talking about ethereal is having the balance of not being a pleasure-seeking addict, okay? You're not seeking pleasure because you can't let anything overtake you, but at the same time, being ethereal means that you have to watch what you put in your body. You have to watch what you sleep. You got to watch how you sleep. You got to watch how you live, all right? You have to contribute to society. You have to have a philanthropic sort of spirit. It doesn't mean that you have to give out millions of dollars. It just means that you have to be helpful. You have to be connected to people, not connected on social media. You have to connect with people. You have to contribute to society. That goes back to that philanthropic mindset. And you also have to do something for yourself, like cooking. You say, but how does that make sense? Well, that's why I said that the ethereal requires engagement and hard work. It's easy to seek pleasure. Anybody can go get a drug to get a chemical stimulant. That's the easy way. But remember, the easy route is not always the most effective route because it makes you dependent upon that easy route. And you're never going to have happiness that way because deep down internally in your makeup, in your biochemistry, you are a slave to that chemical. So whether you're a nicotine addict and you like smoking cigarettes, and actually nicotine is not what's addictive, it's the pyrazines that they put on the nicotine that makes it addictive. They started to inject the nicotine with pyrazines. Pyrazines, I think in the 1960s, they did that to make nicotine more addictive. There's nothing addictive about nicotine. There's nicotine in vegetables. There's nicotine in cabbage. There's nicotine in celery. You never heard anybody being addicted to celery, all right? But they lie to you. America lies to you. Look it up. If you think that I'm lying, you don't believe me. Nicotine is not addictive. It's the pyrazines that they put inside the nicotine that makes it addictive. And they did this. They got some biochemists to experiment with it, and that's why the sale of cigarettes went high. It had nothing to do with the nicotine in the cigarettes. It's the pyrazines that they put in the cigarettes. But anyway, that's a story for another time. So when you're talking about the visceral and ethereal, the ethereal means that it's something that can't be conceptualized, right? I mean, you can get the concept, but you can't, it's not something you can grasp. It's not visceral. It's not physical. You know, anyone could go out there and have sex. Anyone could go out there and eat bad foods to give them the temporary fix that they need. But what happens when that temporary fix is gone? See, anything that's gained quickly could be lost quickly. And you're always going to be chasing that pleasure. That dopamine is always going to be chased. And you're going to put yourself in the lane of being a slave to your own pleasures. You can't do that. As a God, as a generator, as an organizer, and a dispenser of your own reality, there has to be a balance. You can never let anything overtake you. I tell my kids all the time. I said, you are a demigod. They look at me like, Dad, what's a demigod? I said, well, you're a human, but you have godlike qualities. They're like, oh, that's what that means. Yeah, you're a demigod. You guys have the concept of God all misconstrued because you've allowed the Western world to indoctrinate your minds to make you guys believe that a God, that if you use the word God, you're being blasphemous, that only a God is the creator of the universe. Like you guys have a simple, you guys have minds of simpletons, and it's very, very aggravating to me when I talk to certain people that I have to just shut up and not say anything, because it gets to a point where you'll have to actually take them through a course to make them understand what you're trying to say, and I don't have the time to actually break down every single thing. Everyone is a God. You make your own decisions. You have the will to do the right thing or the wrong thing. A God has the will to do the right thing or the wrong thing. You're not a robot. We're not automatically programmed to do certain things. Now, there are certain things that we have in our mental makeup and our mental dispositions as being humans that we do have certain proclivities to lean towards certain things. But aside from that, we have the mental makeup to make decisions. And you cannot be a God if you're allowing anything external to control you. Remember, I always talked about it. Whether you're addicted to pornography, whether you're addicted to alcoholism, whether you're addicted to bad foods, sugary foods, whether you're addicted to salty foods, we all have things in our lives that we're addicted to. But we have to be careful because we're substituting pleasure for happiness. That's why you're not happy. Well, you're not going to be happy because you're not going to be healthy, number one. But you know deep down in your body, there's something. Your body knows. Every one of your cells, all the 15 trillion cells in your body, they all have memory. They all have a brain. Even your heart has a brain. Every organ has a brain, okay? Your body knows something is off. And you know something is off. You just can't put you just can't put the nail on it. You can't pinpoint what the problem is. The problem is that you're misinformed and you continue to put yourself in the same position expecting a different result. So what some people do out of ignorance, they increase their addictions, meaning that, I'll give you just a simple example. If I ate 5 boxes of cookies, all right, let's say a person who just ate 5, they had a stressful day and they are emotional eaters, so they ate 5 boxes of cookies one day and they felt good that day. Let's say 2 weeks later they had another stressful moment. What they'll do, they'll probably eat 2 boxes of cookies because they felt like, oh, that kind of helped me back then, let me eat more to help me again. That's the wrong approach to take. All right, sometimes to abstain is strength. To engage is weakness, because when you're engaging, you're telling yourself that you don't have the mental fortitude, all right, or the capacity to restrain from something that's not going to be good for you. It's almost like you're selling your soul, right? You know what you're doing is going to be bad for you from a health perspective, all right, from a medical perspective, from a health perspective, from a biochemical perspective, from a molecular perspective. You know that what you're about to engage in is not going to be something that's going to be beneficial for you internally and externally. But you're willing to put that aside to have that momentary fix. That's called addiction. And even worse, that's called lack of self-control. So visceral is the physical. It's temporary and it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't give you long-term happiness or joy. Ethereal. There's a difference between ethereal and visceral. Ethereal means that you live in such a way that no matter what your external circumstances are, those external circumstances are never a dictating factor that moves you to do anything that would be less than stellar for your biomolecular makeup. So in other words, I'm not going to let my stressful day cause me to do something that's going to be harmful to my psyche or to my anatomy. I'm still going to be even keeled because I know that there's a goal in mind. There's a way that I'm living. I'm going to channel my efforts toward that goal no matter what, and keep myself in equilibrium. Now, am I saying that doing something that's pleasurable is wrong, is bad? No, I'm not saying that. Remember, I said don't let those things overtake you. There's nothing wrong with having sex with the person that you love, but it is something wrong when you're overdoing that. When it becomes something that overly consumes you, then that means that that element is your God. It controls you. That element, you've now given your power, given your essence to that element. So that element becomes the generator, organizer, and the dispenser of your reality. Your reality is predicated on that addiction. You can't have it that way. That's an inverse concept. It's inverted. And when you're inverted that way, you're going to find out that a lot of things in your life, they don't work out. And you'll notice it. You're like, why is it? It's not like I have bad luck. There's no such thing as bad luck. It's just you're not living right. Something called karma. The kind of energy you put forth is going to be what you get back. If you're into quick temporary fixes all the time, then your life will be quick. You're going to die young. You're not going to live long. And everything that you get is going to be quick. There's going to be no sustainability with it. And then because most of the things that you're enduring are not from an organic foundation, then it loses its substance. There's no density in it. It becomes like shallow. And you're always going to be in this journey of seeking something to fill that void. And your whole life is going to just be a life of a vagabond trying to find a place for your soul, and you're never going to find it. So remember, seek the ethereal, refrain from the visceral, be moderate with the visceral, but go head first, 100%, 110% into the ethereal. And the ethereal means how you sleep, how you eat, being philanthropic, connecting with people, meditating, being more of a person that's trying to control their whole aura. Your whole cipher needs to be controlled. Do not let the outside speed of the world speed you up. You slow down and let the world succumb to you, because you end up creating your own lanes. When you go slow, you end up finding things within the fastness and the vastness of the world, because the world moves very fast and it's very vast. But within those two things, you can still find areas where things are slowed down to fit your lifestyle. That makes you a God, because within the external framework, you're still finding out things that benefit you. That's what a God does. They make the system work for them. The system doesn't pull them to it. You pull the system to you. That's what makes you a God. All right. So I just wanted to share that with you guys, the difference between visceral and the difference between ethereal. Seek the ethereal. That's how you're going to get contentment in life. All right. I love you guys. Tune in. I'll keep you guys updated with everything that's going on. And this is just my little podcast, man. I just like making videos, just talking about things that are on my mind. Leave a comment, tell me what you guys think. And remember, I love you guys. I do care about you guys. And I want you guys to be healthy, because I've seen what it's done for my life. I've seen how eating horribly when I was younger, and the way that I eat now and the way that I live now, how it's so much beneficial for me. My mind, I'm running laps around people that are way younger than me. When I say laps, I don't mean physical laps. I mean in the workplace, everything that I do. Like, no one believes my age. Don't let what you see on the camera fool you. Like, in person, I don't know if it's the lighting. I don't really look like, well, this is the way I look. But if you see me in person, when I tell people my age, they're like, what? You're 40? Yeah. I'm talking to guys that are like 21, 22 years old. I'm old enough to be their father. So they're like, whoa, I didn't know you were this. I didn't know you were, whoa. Because typically 40-something-year-old men, they have pot bellies. They have all this visceral fat everywhere. They have a bunch of gray hairs. They look old. They look old. 40-something is not old. 40-something is just midlife. You're just not stepping into your prime. Personally, for me, that's what I feel. I don't go with the world's metric. All right. Remember, guys, your health is your wealth. Continue to take care of yourself. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Tell me what you guys think. And if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe or follow, but I don't mind. I'm not doing this for monetary reasons. This is all therapeutic for me. And the one or two people that listen, that ingest and digest the information that I take in, I'm very grateful for that. I would rather reach one person that's authentically listening to me and seeing their life being impacted from the things that I talk about, versus a million people watching me and I'm not impacting anybody. So it's all about the impact. If I impact one, I've impacted a billion. If I impact a billion, I impact a billion. So either way, numbers is not a factor here. It's all about just doing my best to make an impact in the world that I live in. All right, take care of yourself. Your health is your wealth. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.